All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Hunting Beast Report. I'm your host, Scott Biskobing. I apologize for the little delay there. Our software was taking a little bit to initialize and get us up and live here, but we should be good to go now. We had to end the other broadcast and then restart. So for those of you that were maybe in the live chat previously, you should be getting notifications now that we are up and running. So, like I said, welcome back. This is episode 99. And before we bring our guests on tonight, just want to quick remind everybody, if you haven't yet, you can check us out on Spotify the day after these live reports, as well as always watching previous episodes right here on the Hunting Beast YouTube channel as well. You can find us on Spotify as well as most all of your podcast platforms that you like to use, Apple Podcast and Stitcher. You'll be able to find us on all those. So without any further ado, let's bring Dan on. What's up, buddy?
Hey, just
Welcome
sitting
back.
in close reading.
Well, you're a little tired too. I mean, you had quite the afternoon.
Yeah, I was out pounding it.
Yeah, how'd that go for you?
I almost killed one. Last day I could use my gun tag. I came real close. I was tracking in the snow in cattails for like 3-4 hours. It's pretty miserable. Deep snow and the water's not frozen underneath, so I kept going over. I went up to my waist a few times. Um, my sciatic nerve in that left leg started acting up. I could hardly walk. Got out there like 3 miles of, well, not 3 miles in one direction, but 3 miles total walking. And
Yeah.
finally, I came up onto some really big sign. And about the time I found it, I kind of knew where it would come from because I knew the area. And I knew of a spot where I've, in the past, jumped several big bucks. And I kind of went in there. And I think my mind was a little off. I don't know. He jumped up exactly where I expected him to, and I should have been able to see him in his bed before he jumped, and I didn't. And when he jumped, I should have got a shot off. I just couldn't get him in a scope. I don't know what happened, and he just got out of there, and I never even squeezed a shot. But nice buck, mature 8, probably like 140, 130, real heavy mass.
Nice.
Nice buck. It'd be nicer next year.
Right. And now he has a chance.
Right?
So as you guys saw, we titled this episode "A Giant Fell in Iowa This Week," and that was courtesy of our guest here, Mr. Scott Buckley, who we've had on in the past here. So let's go ahead and bring Scott on. How you doing,
Hey,
sir?
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Glad to have you back on.
Yeah, thank you.
You've had quite the week
enjoyed
here,
it.
huh?
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. Yeah, considering my year was kind of slow, but
Yeah.
a good
Well,
weekend, that's for sure.
how did your season go for you? Like, can you take
Um,
us through it a little bit?
yeah, it started, October 1st here in Iowa. Mainly had weekends to hunt. Work was just crazy busy this year. Probably the least amount of days I've bow hunted in a long time. I think the biggest vacation I took was Thanksgiving. That was 4 days. But yeah, early on October, I had some pretty good bucks, some public pieces. Um, I usually hit the public land pretty good um, during that October period before it starts getting real crowded in there in November. And then I go to some of my private pieces. But so yeah, I hunted a couple weeks. The weekends I seen some good bucks on public. Had some dandies on camera. It just didn't happen right away. Um, I think it was maybe the second weekend of October. I was hunting a piece of private in central Iowa, and I was on to a couple big ones on that piece. And I did have one pop out at 20 yards. I was in a ground blind. It was a big CRP field, so it wasn't an option for a tree stand. So I put a pop up back in there. There was just one little ditch bottom run through this 100 acres I had permission on. So I set this pop up blind, and he popped out at 20 yards, and I don't know what happened. I mean, it was a chip shot. And, at first I thought I shot, and he just he was on a slight rise, and he disappeared down below. I said, well, I got him. It was so close. I gave him a half hour, walked over there, no blood, no nothing, started walking trails, nothing. How did I miss this buck? It is unbelievable. And so I went back and sat in the blind, for another hour. This is in the morning. I don't know. When did he pop out? About 9:30 in the morning in October, middle of October. So I sat for a bit, and then I thought, I'm going to go check again. So I started making, bigger circles, just all the deer trails. It was just like a creek bottom. Nothing. I figured I missed. And I did pick him up about, I don't know, 2 days later on camera, and he was totally fine. So I knew I had a miss.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that was like my best encounter during bow season. Really was with him that I had a shot. My farm down in south central Iowa, that really was hurting this year. Just it's been 2-3 years since the EHD outbreaks. Just we don't have anything really. There's a couple mature bucks, but they're 125, 130, and I was, I don't mind that. Get later on in season, I'll take one in a heartbeat and be proud of it. But I was looking for something a little higher scoring.
Sure.
I had 2 hitless bucks to start the season. Ended up the one I shot this weekend. That was on a piece of private in central Iowa. And then there was a big one on my farm that I knew made it through the season. Had pictures of them confirmed, after season.
Mm-hmm.
The one friend of mine found his sheds down south. That buck never showed up this year. So I don't know what happened. He did have a swelled up jaw, I noticed last year. I don't know if he got infection and died, but I thought it was strange. He just, no, nothing on camera. When he was 4 years old, he was all over my farm. And then when he was 5, there was, every couple weeks he'd show up. And then this year, nothing. So I don't know. So I was hunting, central Iowa quite a bit. So this other hit lister, the one I ended up getting.
All right, Scott, before I'm just going to cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
Because now they're throwing money at us.
Yeah.
The comments are rolling in here.
Yeah.
Wow, he's got a mountain lion. We got another comment here. Scott, can you just lean to your right a bit for a second so we can see that cat? Your other right. And then
There's a cat up there, mule deer.
Elizabeth sends us $10. Scott, we all want to see that pretty kitty behind you. So, real quick, you want to give us a little story on that?
Yeah, I think that was back in 1996. I think.
Okay, wow.
Me and my brother-in-law went on a fly-in. I always wanted to go mountain lion, to start it out. That was one of my hit list things I wanted to do, bucket list. So we booked the hunt, and what I picked, I wanted something more than just, drive around in a truck and, find a track and run the hounds on it. I wanted more of a venture out of it. So we picked a camp where we flew into Missoula, Montana. We flew there. Our outfitter picked us up. We flew into Idaho. I don't remember the town, but anyway, we went to his house. The next day we got on a little bush plane, which I don't like them little bush planes. It fit like 3 people. And we got on that. We went way back in the Idaho wilderness. I think it was the River of No Return wilderness. We flew into a private camp like in them wilderness areas, they got little private pieces, where you can land your planes, or they got horses. And so this was a private piece, and it was beautiful. It was like almost like I guess it was a resort in the summer, for
Sure.
rafters. Famous people been there. There'd been some presidents there, I guess. Movie stars. I can't remember them all now, but so we
Sure.
flew into this camp. I know everything was self sufficient. They made their own electric, the hydroelectric out of the water, the pools. Everything was hot, however they did it, like a hot springs. We just stayed there overnight, and that's where the horses were. Um, so the next day we packed up all our horses, lots of mules that packed everything, and the dogs. I don't know, there was quite a few hound dogs. And then we headed back. There was a couple camps we went through out in the mountains, like little trappers cabins. We'd horseback through the mountains. Really cool. And this was in January too, so there's a little bit of snow, not overkill, but enough to make it nice out. You could really see the animals. and
Sure.
and I think just on that first trip through, we treated a couple cats. They were too small. Um, just so exciting though. I remember it like it was yesterday, and that was in the late '90s. and So, anyways, yeah, we stayed at the first trapper's cabin, I guess you would call it. Spent the night there. There was a hot springs. They showed us this hot springs out in the mountains there, where they built like a log pool out of it. They built logs, back in the day. Probably put chink or mud, whatever, to keep the water from going out, and like a big square. And then there was this tube that come out of wherever the hot springs are coming out of the mountain. They had a tube, and it was like a heated pool out in the middle of the mountains. And after not taking a shower, for 4 or 5 days, that felt awful good at the end of the day. Go jump in that, it was hot,
Yeah.
and it was so cool. I'd never seen hot springs like that before. So yeah, the whole adventure was pretty cool. And anyways, I don't remember, maybe fourth. I think it was a 10-day hunt. 5, 6 days into the hunt, I think my brother-in-law got his. We treed a big cat, and we both had our bows. We were bow hunting, and he got his cat. And I don't know. I remember one we're walking through, and with the horses, and I remember the guide saying, "There goes a cat." They just got a glimpse of it running through running up the side of the mountain. Well, they said there's probably a kill in here, being that fresh. You usually don't ever see the cats unless they're on something. We went in, there was a dead mule deer in there that had been eaten on. And I think that's the one my brother-in-law got, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because the dogs got on it immediately. It was hot sign. And yeah, and then mine, a day or two later, we ended up running the dogs. I don't remember, a mile or two they run it and treat it, and it was pretty exciting, seeing that cat way up in the tree and snarling at us, spitting at us. It was just a very cool experience. And um, that's when I
Oh,
used to
cool.
shoot the Bob Fulcrod system, Golden Eagle bow. He had the
Oh
Golden
yeah,
Eagle.
the golden. Yeah.
Yeah, and the system, because Bob Fulcrod put his own design on it. It was called the
Yeah.
system. Everything was, built for ruggability. And yep, I shot it with that, and yep, it was pretty cool. I
That's
brought
awesome.
some of the meat home. I ate the back straps. We brought a little bit home, made burger. That was good. So yeah, we didn't just throw the meat out. We utilized some of it, and I had the life size mount made out of it. Um, we seen elk every day, mule deer every day. The whole trip was just really, really exciting, and all done off horseback. And yeah, so that's kind of the story behind that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
All right.
Just cat hunt. Just
That's
the
yeah,
whole hunt together. I mean, it's so much better than riding around in a truck chasing them.
yeah, yeah. It
yeah.
was super cool. I wanted something a little different. The fly in horseback looking for tracks, and it was
Yeah.
kind of what I was looking for. And back then, I think that hunt I don't know if we paid $1,500 or maybe $1,500 or maybe 2,000. Damn, them cat hunts now I think are 5, 6, 7,000 if I'm not mistaken.
6 or 7 is what they're going for.
Yeah, like
And
everything else.
that's for a truck hunt. I bet the one that you went on is probably like 10 grand now.
Oh yeah, I imagine. Yep, fly in and yep, it was pretty exciting.
All right. Well, hopefully that satisfied our live chat there. That was all asking about it. So I knew it was probably going to come up when you can
Yeah.
see a mountain lion in the background there, full mount. There's going to be a couple questions.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I used to go on a lot of them hunts when I was younger. Now I pretty much stick to Iowa and hunt these deer here. So
Sure.
even though I mean, one more little story. I guess say it now. I got a friend of mine. He grew up in Alaska on a family farm. I met him in Nebraska, actually, that mule deer hunt. Well, I think that was a different mule deer hunt, but yeah, I was hunting with on a big place out there, and I met this guy just random, and he kind of friended me, and actually we spotted mule deer. He kind of helped me stalk in on it. He was with me, and we kind of stalked in. We didn't get close enough. I had a muzzle loader, but we became friends over the years. He's a Gulf War vet, I think he is, and really cool dude. Well, anyways, he moved to Alaska 5, 6 years ago, and he just wanted the adventure of Alaska, big bow hunter, and yeah, he contacted me this last spring. He said, Scott, he's on the Alaska Bow Hunters Association board, and he said we're raffling off a brown bear hunt to Alaska, a 7-day brown bear hunt. And the tickets were $100 a piece, and they were going to raffle 300 of them off. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll buy one. I bought one. My brother bought one. And so anyways, here about a month and a half ago, I get a call from the president of the association, Alaska Bowhunter Association. He said, I don't know if you remember buying a ticket last spring, but you are the winner of the 7-day brown bear hunt. I was in the back room, and I started hooting and hollering. My son thought something was wrong, and I was so excited and geeked up. Yeah, so anyways, that's coming up this spring, in the end of May. Everything's paid for except airfare. I got to fly to Anchorage, and 7-day going interior Alaska, and I'm doing it with my bow. So 7-day hunt, brown bear. I think the area we're going in there, they average 8 to 8.5 feet with some 9-foot bears. Is the area that we're going into. They don't have as many of the big 10-footers up in there, but still, I wouldn't know the difference between an 8.5-footer and a 10-footer myself. So they're all going to look big, and I guess we'll see a lot of them too. So yeah, just so exciting. I mean, and then it happens to be my friend lives in that same town where I get on the little bush plane and go back in interior. So if I tag out early, or if I need anything, he said, tag out early, I can come stay with him, and we'll go. He's a big salmon fisherman and halibut. He can just it'll be an awesome experience. And then as of now, my girlfriend and son, they're going up. They're going to stay in a little tourist town nearby while I'm back in the bush because they want to experience Alaska too. So, yep. So yeah, it will be a super exciting trip. I'm just
That is so cool. I mean, brown bear hunts nowadays are going for like 30 grand.
Oh,
I mean, that's not including your flights. That's not including the little bush planes. So winning that is cool as hell because it's really become unaffordable for average guys like us. I mean, it's rich people doing those hunts now.
Yeah, that's what I said. Since I was a kid, that was my bucket list. I mean, brown bear with a bow. It was my dream. That was the biggest thing I wanted to do when I was young.
Me
And,
too.
I put it off because, just Alaska was so expensive. I should have done it back then. Like you said, it's just way out of my realm these days, affording that. And I won this. And I mean, I'll have quite a bit in expenses, but definitely I'm going to
I was going
save
to
a lot
say,
of money.
yeah, if you're successful, you just you
Yeah.
won yourself a taxidermy bill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll be pricey, but
Well, it's expensive just to go to Alaska to fly there.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure you still got to pay for like bush flights and stuff, right?
The bush flight is paid for.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I got to pay to Anchorage, and then I either get on another commuter plane from Anchorage to this town we're going in, or he said a lot of the guys will drive the 4 hours from Anchorage back in because the country is the most beautiful country there is, and then you have a rental. Like if I get done early, I have a rental car. So that's probably what I'll do. So I'll just have the one plane ride to Alaska,
So you don't
and
have to supply the tags or anything. That's
yeah, that's all paid for. So.
otherwise you'd have to draw it. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure how that works for a draw, but yep.
cool.
So yeah, and then I seen the outfitter just posted something yesterday. They're doing the same raffle, not through a bow hunter association, but I don't know, someone up there. All doll sheep hunt, $100 a ticket. And there's 600 of them being raffled off because it's a $34,000 hunt. So I think I got the lucky rabbit foot going on. I think I'm gonna have to buy one of them.
Might as well.
You win that, so people might want to lynch you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Billy Davis says, bring Scott back after his bear hunt. Love to hear all about it. We'll have to do that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's shift gears back into what you were talking about with your Iowa hunting season here for whitetails. I think you kind of left off right before you got into this target buck here of yours. So this is a buck that you had targeted?
Yes, I did like last year.
Okay.
He first showed up last year on this piece of property I was hunting. I never seen him. I started getting pictures of him like in September. Just a giant rock he looked like a 2-year-old body, 3-year-old body. He just looked so young, but he had that drop main beam. Last year he had 3 splits. This year he only had 1. He had 3 splits. He had a little bit of mass. It wasn't the biggest frame deer, but just a hell of a deer. And I was getting a few pictures September, maybe the first 10 days of October. And, none of these were on a cell cam. It was just SD camera. So, I check it here and there. But so I just thought he was too young. I said, I really don't want to see this deer because I'd be so tempted by the size of his rack. I figured he was 160 last year, and I just said he needs another year, at least. I like to get him to 5, but I said if he really grows, he ain't gonna last long, especially in the area I'm hunting. It has a lot more pressure than like southern Iowa. So I talked to the one neighbor that bow hunts the ground to the south, and he asked me if I'd had that buck. I said, yes, I had him, but I think he's young. I said, I'm going to pass him. I think he's only 3 years old. And he kind of agreed. And then I talked to another neighbor of this property I'm hunting. Another neighbor kind of back to the, I guess, southeast area. And I talked to him about passing this deer too. And he didn't say too much, but so yeah, anyways, the season went on and I killed a nice buck in that area. And then going into this year, I said he's got, and I know he lived because I had a picture of him with one antler he shed, through February or whatever. I was getting pictures of him, so I knew he survived. And So I picked up a couple pictures of them the end of August, but they're really bad. It was an SD camera and it was just a shitty camera. In fact, I had to really look. It was nighttime, and I just seen that beam drop down, and I seen one split, and I verified it was him, that he was alive. That
Hmm.
was the end of August. And that was on SD camera. So I kind of went in. When did I go in? Around the first week of October, I guess. And I checked this camera. So I'd had pictures up for a month and didn't even know it.
Sure.
And, well, I had one picture of him the first week of September when he shed. And that was a little better picture, but still they were all really bad pictures. But it was, that's the main thing I wanted to identify, that he was alive. I didn't want to, I don't need to pattern him. I just need to know he was alive and in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so yeah, my hopes are up, on that property. I started situations, moving some stands around, kind of preparing, where he'd been the year before. And actually I did that before I pulled the cards, just in anticipation that he would show up. I started moving stands around. And so anyways, the season started, and no pictures, nothing. I talked to my friend, and he said, "Have you got any pictures of that buck?" And I said, "No, I haven't." He had neither. That's like second week of October. They're probably going on the last week of October. My friend had hit a buck in that area, and so he called me and um, tell me about it. And he asked if I had any pictures of that again. I said, no, neither one of us had. We said, well, maybe early muzzleloader or a youth, shot it. So we thought he was gone. Um, so I'm continuing to hunt. I had some pretty good bucks in this area. That's when I missed that big 10 point second or third week of October. I was on a couple big ones, and I just, limited time I had, I wasn't connecting with them. But there was good ones here, so it kept me going. And so yeah, leading up to gun season, I guess, it was opening weekend and Saturday, this last Saturday, and I was onto a really nice 10 pointer. And he's probably 160 some 10 pointer. And he was daylighting quite a bit in like a cut cornfield. This farm I hunt, it's not manicured, nothing, it's just your basic Iowa permission ground. There was cut corn, I had no food plot, stuff like that really to speak of. And I did put in, just a tiny little bit of brassicas, but really there wasn't much there. I tried to get some in, but so I was targeting this 10 point. That kind of kept me here because I didn't know if I wanted to stay up in this area or go down south, to my farm, or, just contemplating it. But I knew this 10 was out here. So um, I couldn't go out back. It was a morning hunt, so I didn't want to go in the cut cornfields, So I thought, well, I'll get up in the timber in a travel corridor between two bedding areas is what I did. There's a bedding area to it'd be to the west, and there's a bedding area to the east. And I got right in between, right in the middle of it on a ridge. And I hadn't been up there really in a while. And since there was leaves on the trees, and I'm wondering if I could see much, but I got up in there, and actually with the snow, I could see really well up there. The leaves are all down, and I get set up, before light, and gets light, and I on this bedding thicket just right on the east side of me. It's a ridge top, a real thick cover. Right away I started seeing does and small bucks. I bet you I seen 4 or 5 little yearling bucks. Maybe one could have been a 2-year-old, in the first hour and a half of daylight. Just, the bucks in there bumping them around a little bit and few does, and then they were kind of working off to the west, to the northwest. Most of these deer, there's some big cedar thickets kind of to the north. I think they were working up in them. So yeah, it's getting I don't know, 9:30 in the morning. Been pretty slow. I hadn't seen nothing a little bit, and I'm contemplating, getting down because I'm banking on the evening when these deer were coming in to cut corn and stuff. So thinking about getting down, and I said, well, I'll give it a little while longer, and sitting there, and all of a sudden I see a buck off in the distance, right on the ridge, kind of come my way, and I thought, well, it's one of these. There's some nice 3-year-olds and stuff in there that I get on camera once in a while, and I don't know. I flipped the binoculars up. I mean, he's probably 50, 60 yards away, come my way. I just flipped the binoculars up and I seen that drop beam on him. I said, "Holy shit!" My heart just started racing. I said, there's only one buck in this whole area as that drop main beam. Both beams are actually dropped down. There's only one buck, and here I'm thinking it's a ghost because I thought he was dead. No sightings, nothing, and in whatever the 2-3 months, September to December, October, no, 3 months, not a single sighting by anybody that I knew. And no camera pictures, nothing. Here he comes walking right at me. I'm like going in a not panic mode, but just hearts are racing. And I just seen that drop main beam and I immediately put the binoculars down. I didn't concentrate on his rack, nothing. I said, this is him, there's no misidentifying it. This is him. And he he just came in 18, 20 yards. He came in and, broadside. I mean, it was a chip shot. I shot and, I seen the hole in his side. I had a 450 Bushmaster and he took off and I don't know, went 40, 50 yards and I seen him kind of start to circle around and,
Sure.
I seen him go down. I couldn't see him because a little bit of the rise in the hill there. And I think I called my son first. He said I couldn't. He goes, "Dad, I didn't think you could breathe and talk, or you weren't breathing, trying to talk to me or something." He said. I was so excited. And, yeah, so I waited a little
Yeah,
bit,
he's
talked to him,
magnificent.
and yeah, then I got down, walked over there, and it was him. Yeah.
Just pulling
Oh,
up a few of the pictures here that you sent over.
yeah. Yeah, I was just totally, especially kind of the surprise of it, you don't think he's around and then he shows up. You just never know with these deer. And yeah, and then so anyways, my son's he's down at the farm, and I got a bad knee and there's like 15 inches of snow, and I thought, well, I like to get some good pictures, and I called my son-in-law, see if he can come help me. My son-in-law and daughter, she's good at pictures, and my son-in-law helped me get it out of the woods. And my daughter didn't answer, so I called my son-in-law. He goes, "I'm at the job site." He works for me, and we never work Saturdays, but he knew we were missing, because of the weather. He went in he just went in and started working that day, of all Saturdays. I said, "Well, that's awesome. I'm happy you did that. Don't come help me. You just keep working." So I said, "Cody probably be on his way home. He was just going down there for the night and morning anyway. He had to get us some stuff." And I said, "He can help me get it out later. I'll call Tabby, see if she can get some, come over and take some pictures." So I called my daughter and yeah, she was busy doing stuff, but she said she loaded up the truck, grabbed my grandson, and her mother-in-law was in town. The three of them came out, took some pictures, and yeah, it was pretty exciting. So
Yeah.
Cody got home. a couple hours later, and we only had dragger a couple 100 yards, I guess. Got a quad onto it up a big hill. I could have probably done it, but my knee's been jacked up, so I haven't been, you know, trying to put a little less stress on it. But yeah, so basically that was my adventure, and it was pretty cool. So
What
Pretty
what do you
cool.
feel this one scores?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Probably it will go at least in the 170s. Um, he's got
Well, yeah,
18.
because you figured what 60, right?
What's that?
You thought last year he was around 160.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He has 18 scorable points. They're all really good points, except there's one little burr point that's inch long. I mean, it's scorable, but the rest are splits and tines and um, pretty good. Not huge, but 5-inch mass measurements and
He's got a pretty good clean 12 frame besides all the extra crap too, don't he?
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful buck.
Yeah, yeah, just the character of them alone, is super cool. I started out this year with 2 hitless bucks, and he was one of them, and I was kind of bummed he just wasn't seen or nothing anywhere, and then he shows up, so it kind of was, yeah, it was just so cool. Really
You think
exciting.
he's just 4?
What's that?
You think he's just 4 years old?
I think so. Oh, that was another thing. Yeah, I like after I put him down, I noticed like the center of his backbone. There was a big bump up there,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe inch or so around. I thought maybe like a vertebrae was broke, or maybe a rib was broke and poking up there. You could feel it under the fur, just a big old knot in there. So yeah, as soon as I got him up that evening, I started caping him out, and I skinned down, and you ain't gonna believe what I found right above his spine. I mean, it literally, you got that on the top of the spine, you got like a little rib up there, I guess, there's like, I don't know, tendons or something above that. It actually cut that. It was a 12 gauge copper sabot slug from the year before. It was enclosed in a sack, it closed it off and you didn't see the hole in the hide. And
Yeah.
it was, the sabot where it petals out, there's like 6 petals on it. Hey, Cody, see if you can find me that slug. I think it's in my room. Yeah, it was just right there in his spine. I mean, that buck came, just millimeters away from being dead next year, with a broken back. So yeah, he was running around with that slug. Um,
Yeah, that's
and then
amazing how they can survive that.
he had an injury on his. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but I got it in the right spot
Yeah.
here.
Bring it up a little bit closer to your face there, right in front of you. And now bring it straight in. There you go. Yep. And
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that was in his back.
wow.
Mm.
Yeah, you can see the petals.
Kind of incredible that it absorbed all that power without a pass through without breaking his back.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't get. I figured there's a group of guys that pushed some of this ground around here where I was hunting, and they, probably just flinging lead, seeing a rack, from whatever, a couple 100 yards away, throwing lead. Yeah, because it seems like it just went in. It was right in that top, right along the hide. It had to be a long distance not to pass through it. It just stopped right
Right.
under the hide there, and then he had another injury on his, like kind of where his hind quarter hit his belly area right there. I seen a fresh wound in his side there that was, it was a little pussy bloody, and I skinned that down, and there was a lot of like pus pockets underneath that hide. Nothing penetrated the meat, but where they were starting to harden up, I assume maybe a tine, a buck fight. Tine went in his inside there or whatever and ripped his skin open. But there was an area 5, 6 inches, that was all pestered up. And I assume it was this year, because there was a fresh hole in that one. Um, so yeah, and I noticed his backbone was showing a little with his injuries. I think
Yeah, it probably had to do something.
yeah, because he was a little bit thin as it was, but yeah, I'm thinking 4 years old. I mean, I just he didn't
Yeah,
have a giant body, but in the neighborhood I was hunting, I wasn't going to pass up a deer that caliber.
right.
Hopefully, spread some good genes around, and
Yeah, no kidding.
yeah, yeah,
um, so some years ago, I mean, actually, quite a few years ago, probably somewhere closer to 30 years ago, similar situation. Guy that we were hunting with shot a nice buck, nice 10 pointer, 150s. And in cleaning it out, it had a broadhead that was all rusted up, that it looked like it was lodged in the ribs. And it had that same kind
yeah,
of jellied sack like formed around it. Because if you looked, every time it moved its front shoulder, this would rub. At one point, it was rubbing on the ribs and that until the sack around it kind of formed. And you're like, man, that's just incredible. Like, how painful would that be? Yeah, I mean, we would be going out of our minds if something
that's
like that
nice.
happened to us. And
Yeah, Madeira don't even seem to phase them. I don't know.
yeah, they're just
I got
insane.
another cool story here about an injury. This is when I was probably in my early 20s, living back up in Michigan. I shot a buck. It was just a young buck. I think maybe first week of October. I was in a tree stand shooting down, quartering away. It went in kind of high. It looked like it quartered right down into the animal, opposite shoulder. We never found that buck, right? I mean, the shot looked good, maybe a little high, but the angle looked like it went right down in it. So, anyways, I'm hunting that same area late season, December, back in the same tree stand with my bow and arrow.
Sure.
And here comes this buck, he looked like he had the same rack and he's limping. And I'm like, huh. So that time I made a good shot, killed him. We ended up, after we did an autopsy, I guess you could say, on him, skinned him out. I found the entry where it was scabbed over on the one side, which looked pretty good. The broadhead went into his shoulder blade on the opposite side. No idea how it didn't kill him. Maybe just high, took one lung, maybe high, and he survived. But in that amount of time from October through December, that's 2 months. That broadhead went in that opposite shoulder blade and already started like calcium deposit. It was already almost totally enclosed, not totally, but it was on his way being in the bone, the calcium or whatever you want to call that, the
Yeah.
bone was forming right around that whole thing in his shoulder. I had that, but I had that for years. I saved that, and then I think the dogs found it one time or something, but it was pretty cool. I'd never seen nothing, let alone get 2 shots at the same buck. But
You're right.
just amazing how they can heal with broadheads, bullets, all that kind of stuff in them is just pretty. Their survival is just
Yeah,
crazy.
they're designed to survive, and
Yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, think about how many people lose deer, or never recover them
yeah,
on shots, or you even see pictures and videos, trail camera videos and stuff where you can see the entry wound on the deer. Let's say it's like 4 or 5 days later, and like I got pictures of them, and you see the wound, and you're like, or you see the video of where the arrow went in, and then that deer's alive 6, 7 days, maybe 2 weeks later, and you're like, how in the world could that deer
yeah.
survive that? It blows my mind every time I see something like that. I mean, Dan, you probably experienced some of that throughout the years, right?
Yeah, when you shoot bucks that are 5, 6, 7 on public land, they almost always have a
Yeah,
projectile or two or a hole in them.
Yeah. Guys doing deer drives, just letting lead fly.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
and they're tenacious creatures and just amazing for sure. So outside of that, what else is new with Scott?
I don't know, just everyday stuff, working and trying to make a living here so I can deer hunt, I guess.
Yeah. Do you
Gotta
have any
pay for
other?
my hunting habits. But going on the rest of the season right now, there's one place farmer wants me to take out a couple does. He has some the yeah, whatever the tags were you um
Some of the egg tags.
yeah, he wants
Yeah.
me to take out a couple does on a piece of property, and um so we're doing that. I That was another thing. I shot a doe a couple nights ago, and um 2 nights ago, and we got down to her in the dark and went to pull her legs open to gut her, and something I don't know what was going on, but down in her crotch area, just all this green pus and infection coming out of her, and you could see where it went right up into her whole back quarter. I don't know if she got caught on a fence and ripped her open or what happened, but and she come across field walking, and I couldn't tell she was injured. She wasn't like limping or nothing. She seemed pretty normal, but man, when I went to open her up, she had all kinds of pus in her. So that
Yeah, if
was
she was infected, she's probably not going to make it much longer.
yeah, no, it looked pretty bad. So yeah, that's it. And I do have a tag buck tag left. So um but I'm no, once I kill a nice buck, I'm not looking to, especially on, my Iowa properties, just kill everything off. I might hit some public later on. We'll see. I got one public area that usually late season, over the years, bucks really tend to get back in that area. So we'll see, how my knee's doing. That was another reason, going back in some of them areas the last 2, 3 weeks. I wanted to go back in one area, but my knee's been causing me some issues. So, especially
Yeah.
with this.
Old stuff sucks, don't it, Scott?
That's what the doctor finally went in, seen him today. He goes, I hate to tell you this, but, you know, you're going to start having these problems of the life you've led. And now you got arthritis showing up in spots. And
Yeah.
you're
Before
going to have,
the show, we were comparing knee injuries. We're
yeah.
talking about that
Yeah,
before the show.
that's why I asked you. I didn't know if you had what problem you had. They said mine's probably arthritis in my kneecap. I got to go get some X-rays and see what's wrong. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's always something, right? Especially
Yeah,
as we get older, it's you get through one injury or one ailment, and then another one pops up, or they just keep compounding on top of each other.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But
How'd you do, Dan? I watched some of your podcasts here and there. You haven't killed a buck, have you, this year?
I did. I killed one that was too small.
Oh,
I
okay.
had a real early, and I paid for it. I had some real big bucks show up afterwards, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
had one buck I was watching that was a real big 8 frame,
Yeah.
and I had a 8 frame come in, and he got to about 35 yards, and he turned to leave in thick cover, and I thought it was him, and I let him have it. And they're not bass; you can't throw them back.
Yeah. I've done that
So,
before.
so my bow tag is filled, uh, and I didn't get nothing with gun in Wisconsin. I did do a challenge recently with the hunting public. That's
Oh,
not out.
okay.
They're going to be putting that out soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it
I
should be a
seen
pretty
you.
good one.
Oh, yeah. Where was it at? Can you say or?
Can't say. All I can say is
Okay.
down south.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I
Down
think I
south.
heard you talking about a challenge, but I didn't know I actually did it. Well, that's cool. You guys got that back together.
Yeah, it is cool. It is cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty stressful for those guys to do the editing and like get it out the next day.
Yeah.
So They just did it a little more laid back to bring it back. So they're just going to put it out like regular shows. Where it takes a week to put them out, but
Yep.
they should be out any day now. They
Oh,
should be
good.
rolling.
Did
It's going to be
Aaron?
a really good episode. I mean, Aaron and I were talking. We both thought it was probably one of the best public challenges that we've done.
Oh, good. Heck yeah. Did Aaron go on the trip too?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, they're a bunch of good guys.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing that.
I
Yeah,
still
that'll
got
be
one more
exciting.
hunt left. I'm going to Massachusetts. I don't really expect to kill something out there. It's going to be tough. It's a 3-day muzzleloader hunt, tracking. Um, but some kids won, or some people won. 2 people won the chance to hunt with me, Ricky, Lobby, and Lanny
Lanny.
Benoit, and it should be fun. That's more going to be like a fun hunt, but I'll still put an effort in it. It's hard for me to hunt and not put a full effort in.
That's in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So kind of like the old Maine, Maine, the Benot brothers or whatever. You track them. Is that how you're track
Yeah.
them in the snow? And
Yeah, I was
yeah,
tracking today. It's pretty tough on an old guy. Those
yeah,
guys are old guys. I mean, they keep going.
yeah, yeah. And they probably get a lot of snow out there.
It's hard here. I mean, because everything I track goes right into the swamps, and those cattails. I mean, pushing through those things in snow and water, and you get wet. And oh my gosh, is that hard?
Yeah,
Harder than you'd imagine unless you've done it.
yeah.
Well, you said you were up to your waist a couple times today too.
Yeah, I thought it would be frozen because we've had as low as single digits, but the snow is acting as an insulator, and it's like a 1/4 inch thick ice underneath. So the deer walk on it and you break through, and you got to be careful where you step, and occasionally you hit the wrong spot.
Yeah, that's no joke.
Yeah.
Well, and you just recently had the deer drive videos; those just came out about a week and a half or so ago. I think you released those.
Yeah, Eric's show just came out too. He just finally
Yes.
broke his like 4 year streak of not shooting one. That guy just pounds and pounds and pounds, and he hunts well. But he wants to do it his way. He wants to hunt the public in Wisconsin. And, it's a hard area where he's at, and he only wants to shoot a certain animal. And
Sure.
sometimes that takes some sacrifice. And he's gone. I think it's 4 years without shooting a bow buck, and he's shot in a few, in the past. So it was kind of cool to see him finally succeed. He was really starting to get down in the dumps.
Oh yeah, I mean, when you go through a slump like that, you start second guessing everything.
How long have you gone without shooting a buck, Scott? But it looks at your wall, it'd say 5 minutes.
I've got one every year probably since I've been young. I went like when I moved to Iowa. That's kind of when I really started keeping. It was easier to keep track, I was young, just shot whatever. But when did I come here? 2009. So that's 16 years or something. There's only 3 years I didn't take one with a bow, and this is one of them this year. I think 2016 didn't get one with a bow because that was the first year I bought my farm. Maybe 2 years ago. But then I'm kind of being more picky now. This year I passed, the third week of October, first week of November. I passed a lot of good bucks, 140-ish bucks. I passed quite a few of them. Maybe one was 150 or so I passed. I was kind of just, passed a lot of bucks. And so, it's easier. I got to a point, I've killed so many deer, I don't have to fill my tag anymore. I'd rather, if I'm after something, just be patient. And,
well, you can't put a tag on the buck like you just shot if your tag's hanging on a 140 incher.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess a lot of hunters go through that phase. When you're younger, you just want to shoot as many bucks as you can. When I was a kid, I mean, it didn't matter yearling bucks; you just piled them up. Then you kind of stepped up age, but you still killed a few. And then, I came to Iowa. I still wanted to fill every tag I could. A little bit better bucks. Now I'm kind of that age where I'd rather kind of watch some of these
So you
grow
ever
and.
you ever want to go back to Michigan where you had those giant bucks you used to hunt?
That's the funniest thing I've heard all day. There is some bigger deer in that area now. I mean, compared to what was there when I was there. If we killed a 100-inch deer, 2-year-old deer, when I was younger, it was a trophy. But
Yeah.
I mean, I got some friends shoot. There's a couple 3-year-olds here and there, and even a couple, better. I heard of a couple 160s in that general, area this year. Within,
It's gotten better all over the country, really. They're
yeah,
holding out, you know.
yeah,
And now, that's one of the good parts of a trail camera is it gives people hope. They start seeing stuff,
yeah,
start holding out,
Yeah.
and you start getting, it ain't
yeah.
just the trail cameras; it's other people shooting them and stuff. But you used to not know what anybody else did. You only knew what you saw, and a lot of guys, if you didn't shoot a 2-year-old, you weren't getting a deer. And
Yeah, exactly.
literally seeing one or two 2-year-olds back in those days in Michigan was probably like seeing one or two 150s down in Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah, the area I was in, I remember growing up seeing statistics and I think it was 85% of the buck kill was a year and a half old in the area I grew up in. It was in the thumb of Michigan, Sanilac County, in the thumb over east side, but yeah, 85% a year and a half old. So that left 15% to make it to 2-year-old, maybe a couple to 3-year-old, and that was it. I mean, it was slim pickings. Yeah.
Yeah, I hunted the thumb one time, and when I was up there, and I had like 25 deer go by me at one sit, and I think
Well, there are a lot of deer.
like like I can't remember exactly, but like a whole bunch of them were bucks, and all the
Yeah.
bucks, the biggest buck was a spike. So
Yeah.
the smallest was a spike too, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I've got some friends, they get one here and there. It's a lot better than what it used to be. A lot more people passing. And
yeah,
I mean, it still has a long ways to go, but, at least it's a start. It just takes generations to, you know, switch over their thinking. And then you always just got your meat hunters, which is fine. Um, so
And we got a question here for you, Scott.
looks like one of your relatives there.
Yeah. Is Scott going to let his niece Brooke shoot a really big one on his farm this late muzzleloader? This is from Rick
yeah,
Buckley. I maybe relation. No.
yeah, yeah, it's my brother. Yeah, his niece drew a tag, and being young kids, I've let them hunt my farm if they're young, and so yeah, she's coming out, and they'll probably the way my brother usually does it. He'll go hunt the public lands in the mornings, get back in the timber, and then we'll hunt probably some of my spots in the evening. But I got a lot of good 8 pointers, that need taken out. So, and some are pretty big. There's a couple 8 pointers up in the 140s. So, um,
Nice.
yeah. And there's even like a 5-year-old 9 point that, huge body. Just, I was passing him up to. He's probably 135 inches, but for a kid, that's a hell of a trophy. So
Yeah,
big old body on it. Last
Absolutely.
time she was out, she took she got an 8 pointer one time. The time she came out, because she draws every 2-3 years, she was just young then. Maybe the first year she just missed a couple. The second year or second time she came out, she shot a nice 8 pointer, 100-inch 8 pointer. I think that was a 3-year-old. It just had like a huge body, just a heavier rack, but just a smaller rack. And then the last time she came out 3 years ago, we had this 10-point. He was 5 or 6 years old. We called him Lucky, I think it was. I think that's one we call Lucky. Yeah, he was kind of wasn't. He didn't grow any from the year before. And I told her if he comes out, let's take him out. And I was sitting in the blind with her and my brother. It was an enclosed blind, and that buck come across the field. And I said, "Oh my gosh, there he is, Brooke. You're going to get a shot at him." And yeah, anyway, so yeah, she shot it, and first time I seen somebody get scoped in the forehead.
Oh no.
Yeah, she scoped herself right in the forehead. There's blood flying everywhere, but the excitement was so crazy. The buck ran off and stood there. I mean, it didn't even phase her. She just wanted to, you know, hoping it would go down. And, I'm sure after the adrenaline wore off, it really hurt. But
Yeah.
yeah, she ended up getting him. It was a nice 10-pointer. I don't know. He was probably like a 140-inch 10-pointer or something. But,
Wow.
um,
Did you get a nice scar out of that?
yeah, I'm pretty sure she still has it. I don't know. I haven't paid attention when I only see her once or twice a year, but yeah.
We were doing drives. My brother-in-law, he got scoped really bad on the ladder, shooting one right underneath him, and
Oh,
he cut his eye so bad. I mean, there was blood just pouring out. He's still got a big scar there.
oh wow. Huh?
Yeah, when he bought a cheap, like old Japanese war gun or something out of a barrel. That's what he was
Really?
hunting. He sighted it in and stuff, but he had his scope on it, and the way he mounted the scope was kind of funny, and the stock was too short for him, and he actually bought a nice rifle after that.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
My
But yeah, it'll be exciting when she comes out. We'll be
oh
doing
yeah.
that between Christmas and New Year's, and taking her out. She's in school now, college. I don't know, Kalamazoo or Grand Rapids, one of them. I forget what school, but she pediatrician, like a
Oh,
what's that, like a kid's doctor or something. I think there's like 12 years of school or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
about
so
right.
yeah, so she'll be successful, happy for her. I couldn't do that when I got out of school. I didn't want nothing to do with school, but
right.
I just spent 13 years in school. I tried college for a little bit, and so then I took up construction, and it's been successful. I didn't. It's one of them cases. You know, like Charlie Kirk and some of them said, you don't need a huge college degree to be successful. You just have to have, drive, and you make out of life what you put into it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yep.
absolutely. Billy asked Dan, what gun were you shooting?
When
Or is he are you asking about the guy on the ladder?
that was some Japanese rifle, one of those weird ones. Matter of fact, he had a really hard time getting ammo. I don't
Oh,
remember what.
really?
Yeah, that's why they sell the guns for $100. You can't buy the ammo. You end up
Right.
having to get it shipped in.
Right, yeah. You paid twice as much for ammo than you did the
Yeah.
gun.
Speaking of, one of the guys that came on the drive with us on the gun drives, he's a game warden up in California. He brought his own bullets along that he bought in California because his gun sighted in for them. They can't use lead bullets. They can't have any lead in them.
Oh
So
wow.
he spent like $100 on a box of bullets in California for one box.
Oh, he's asking Dan, what gun do you use for your deer drives? You
Uh,
personally.
so I've got three guns. Two ARs. One's an AR-10 and one is an AR-15 that I like to use quite a bit. But I really like my 30-06 as well. I got a pump 760 30-06. Um, I just like to have an extra magazine for it or something so I could hold more shells.
Sure.
Um, Constantly reloading the thing when we're doing drives. But when I stand hunt, I much rather use the 30-06.
Yeah, I agree.
it's more accurate. It reaches out. When it hits a deer, it really has an impact. But the AR-10, I was really surprised that thing really has a wall up to it too, a lot more than I would expect. This is the
Sure.
first year I've used that. I got that. I bought that from Trudell Taxidermy, Jay Trudell. He won
Hmm.
it, and he won a whole bunch of guns and raffles. He goes to all these Ducks Unlimited crap and stuff, and he always sells the guns for cheap. So I bought it.
I have never had any success with gun raffles in my entire life. Ducks Unlimited, Whitetails Unlimited, all these different banquets and stuff, and I buy tickets, and everybody around me, you get a gun, you get a gun, you get a gun, and then there's me.
Just remember after work, these guys in the shop do gun raffles like every other week. Be like 10 guys in the raffle, and I still never win. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I always just throw the money in there just to be part of it.
right.
Most of the time I could care less about the gun, but I throw my money in there just to be part of it, and I never ever win. Matter of fact, it's always the same guy that wins. Scott Buckley,
I was just
guy wins everything.
I've
Scott,
won a
do you
couple. I've
do
won a
you,
couple guns, but not in a while. I won a 7mm odd 8.
Hmm.
It's a I won that in Michigan a long time ago at like a like for sick kids, benefit for kids with life
sure.
threatening things. Then I won a turkey shotgun here a few years ago, but I lose a lot more than I win.
Do you have a firearm of choice when it comes to deer hunting?
I use that 450 Bushmaster now that Iowa went to straight wall cartridges you can use.
Yeah,
Um, Muzzleload season, I've always used a CVA Acra. I've killed a lot of deer with that, a lot of bucks. But I did recently, and I'm excited to try it. A friend of mine was selling a CVA Paramount. Um, it was a long range gun. I bought it off him last year, used, and have a scope. I let it sit around, and I finally just went down to Shields the other day, and I got a scope for it. So I'm gonna try to get that tuned up for muzzleload season coming up here at Christmas. I still got to sight it in, but I'm kind of excited to try that out. So, um,
sure.
but I've never been a huge gun guy. I got a ton of guns, but I've always been a bow guy. So kind of
Yeah,
guns, I just never like. I don't have any ARs, and just I like them, but I don't know.
choose the
So,
bow first. Yeah,
so when you get, I believe as a resident with property, you get 3 tags, right?
Yep.
So your next tag, if you use it for muzzleloader, are you forced to hunt on your property?
Yeah, well, you got your landowner tag. Yeah, if you got a landowner tag, you got to hunt your property, and then you have your 2 statewide tags. You get one for a bow. I still got that one.
Hmm.
And then you have to pick a gun season. First, second, and then you got your late season muzzleloader. So you're allowed. Statewide, you get a bow. Any gun season you can pick, or if you're a landowner, you got a landowner's tag. So
So
basically,
is the
that's
landowner tag good for any of the gun seasons?
yeah, that's how they just put that into play. You used to, like for years, you had to pick a season. You had to pick, bow, late season, whatever, and you could only use it for that season. Just starting last year, it's a floating tag, so you can use it for any season you want. I bought mine in October, and I could have got a bow tag gun or put a bow buck on it, gun buck, whatever. I can use it in any season now, even early muzzleloader, I can use it in that. So that was huge for Iowa legislator that I think, to opens up opportunity for,
Yeah, as long
using.
as it doesn't kill too many.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, that's how that goes.
Sure. All right. Dan, you got anything else before we wrap it up here tonight?
No, I think it was a good show.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah,
good to
thanks.
hear from Scott and see
Absolutely.
success with Scott.
Yeah, I
You
get
know,
rambling once in a while, but I really enjoy it.
well, everybody
I
does.
enjoy.
You got
Yeah.
great stories. Love hearing them.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot of
yeah.
people chiming in saying they love hearing your stories. And this one was fresh out of the gate. What day again was it? Was it on
This last Saturday morning, just
last
this last
Saturday morning?
Saturday morning,
Okay.
yeah, it was our opening day of first gun season. So,
That's
yep, pretty
awesome.
exciting. Yep, I still I still get that super rush off the bow, but when you have a deer at 20 yards with a gun, it was just as cool, especially if it was Buck you thought, I mean, it's the whole situation. Buck you
Yeah.
didn't even think was around no more, and there he is. It's like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
it was
great.
pretty exciting. I don't think I got that excited over a gun kill in quite a while. I get excited, but that one I was kind of over excited. Yeah.
Rightfully so. And we'll have to have you again. We'll have to have you back on after this
Bear
Alaska
hunt.
brown bear hunt.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you
Super,
find success on that, and
yeah,
we'll have to have
super
you back on and
excited.
hear that story.
Yeah, I'll be back home middle of June. So,
Perfect
yep.
time.
Yeah.
We'll just be starting to ramp up and talking about the start of deer hunting season already by that point. So,
Yeah.
but all right. Well, Scott, we really appreciate you taking the time tonight and coming on and telling the story. And congratulations again on a fantastic buck.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You guys have a good evening.
You too, Scott. All right, Dan, we should be back next week, right?
Yep.
All new episode. We don't know what or who we're going to have on yet, but we'll figure that between now and then. We want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Hunting Beast Report. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that now. And once again, make sure you head on over to the huntingbeaststore.com to check out all the latest merchandise. Hopefully some of you guys took advantage of that awesome deal that we had going on last week for that 20% off for those 3 days, and maybe grab yourself one of those cool church hoodies. So, all right, thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. See you, Dan.
See ya.